Welcome to another video. So in this episode, I have quite a few things to talk about actually. As soon as you make one video, you get this big burst of ideas come, and I think there's a few things that I haven't really heard much of from the vegan world, which I'd like to add into the mix of everything. I decided to make these videos more of the sort of ASMR style, so that that big niche part, that kind of community world of YouTube can find these videos. So yeah, hopefully these videos will bring you some joy, and hopefully you'll learn something or you'll remember something that's going to help you with your journey. So I wanted to talk about this idea of manifestation. I think with the world now going in a more of a everything's speeding up and people are figuring things out, and the world is waking up to lots of different things. People are looking at the world in a different way, and they're seeing their the darker parts of themselves and healing things, and people are stepping into more self-love and compassion, and the vegan world at the same time is moving into the more mainstream and the more kind of acceptable place. Even in areas like Japan, it's getting quite exciting. Manifestation is one of them words I think that if you've not kind of delved into the spiritual world, it's seemingly one of these kind of woo-woo words that unless you really understand the idea of it, which is using your mind or your thoughts, your actions to bring about the world you want, rather than this sort of powerless place that says the world's being created by a government that's doing everything to us. It's taking your power back and saying, nah, we're the creators. We've just we've been silly enough to throw away that energy and give the power to other people to create the world for us. But it's all springing out of our mind and our thoughts, and we can create the world that we want to be in. So I wanted to empower people more to realise that what you focus on and what you invest in, consciously with your intentions, is going to grow, just like watering certain seeds and things on a garden. If you want the good seeds to grow into big trees, you will put your attention onto them, and you've got to nurture them, and bring joy and love to them, and feed them in the way that is best for them. But if you're mindless in this sort of practice, which most people are, and you're just allowing kind of essentially what people call weeds, the idea of weeds, of unwanted things to just grow around, you end up having a garden that's just full of thorny, brambly bushes that are sharp and unpleasant. And then you look around and say, how come the world is not something that I want? But actually you're helping on some level to generate that kind of thorny experience, because a part of you is unconsciously watering the weeds, or watering the thorny things, the sharp, brambly things. So one of the big misconceptions I think that's come along in the world is I think especially in relation to wars and things, people have this idea that isn't healthy, that focusing on bad things that happened in the past so that we don't ever forget it will help, which doesn't really make any sense. But people are very scared of being seen as cruel and cold, and generally I think if you're seen as someone who's against these kind of respect the dead kind of cults, these places you can get a bit tricky in the society because there's so much shame around it all. So the society's kind of been geared into focus on the negative, focus on the bad, and that in some way will help, is the idea, but it isn't really grounded in anything useful. And the more you focus on the negative stuff, the more you're energizing it and you're empowering that to be in your experience and into the world that you're going to live in, and if other people are wanting to energize, manifest and create negative experiences and negative things, such as factory farming, etc., etc. It's not really any of your business, but what your business is to say, actually, I'm going to step away from that world that I don't want, and then actually shift the focus and pivot around into looking at the world I do want. So one of the things that the errors of the vegan community in a bigger sense is spending almost too much time on looking at the problem and talking about how the problem's bad, which is necessary obviously to educate people out of, that choice. But it's actually shifting away to say, well, this is bad, but what's the alternative, and what is the better way, and how can we do the better way, which is what I generally wanted to make my videos about, which is like, here's the problem, which is fair enough. We all want to know about, here's the problem, what we're going to do about it, and, what's the solution, and how can we implement that solution, sort of thing. So what I realized is a lot of my videos always had that edge where it's like, kind of, here's the problem, and here's a happy ending, the happy ending that we actually want. Let's focus on that now for the end and feel good about it. And that's kind of something that will bring about a more positive world, and it will make us collectively feel better, because when you're focusing on the problem, people end up having a lot of mental health struggles relating to veganism and activism when people focus so much on the suffering and the pain and the enormity of the challenges, that you then end up being almost paralyzed, and you don't have any spare energy to look at the alternatives. So alternatives such as, if factory farming is bad, then perhaps, learning to grow your own vegetables, learning to, how doing your own form of food production on, small scale or whatever, or learning how to cook in a way where you share the food with people. So it's like, that's the solution. And one of the things that was helpful for me when I was going vegan with friends and with family, that's eventually allowed my family to kind of go into that space and become vegan, has been, I'll make you food and show you how amazing it is, so you've really got no excuse, kind of thing. So when my family was going vegan, I was cooking the food, and it was almost inconvenient for them to eat the meat option. So I made it very convenient, I made it tasty, I did obviously my best to make the whole thing accessible and provide the information. And so I focus on that positive aspect rather than shaming them, kind of thing, which I did do a little bit. Obviously, I was kind of, meat industry's bad, and the eggs, and they do this, and the eggs, and dairy's bad, and but that didn't really go through. It was more a case of, obviously, you leave that information to sort of brew, you kind of like stew up and kind of seep into people's minds, because it goes against everything people are taught. People are taught that, happy eggs or whatever, free range slaughter. So, the brain will just reject the thing that doesn't make sense, because otherwise it loses its safety. So you're just threatening people's safety. So it's kind of just like, it's kind of sliding your way past the fear place. Because if the mind goes into panic mode of, uh-oh, my whole world and my whole life is being threatened, they're gonna just shut the whole thing down, ignore you, or just sort of shout at you, and then some kind of thing gets triggered, and then the conversation ends, or they just don't say anything, or they just kind of blank out. So I found that just focusing on the solution and just going, well, here's beautiful animals in a sanctuary. Wouldn't you prefer this than the meat industry? Here's people playing with cows and pigs and all these happy animals, and here's greenery and forests, and everything's beautiful and everyone's happy, and here's some amazing fruit salads or whatever, and you go, here's the alternative. Because veganism can be, it isn't really anymore, but at times it's like, it could be a bland, boring experience where you feel like, oh, I should do this for the animals, kind of thing. But instead of sacrificially going into veganism, you can go into veganism through the joy and the discovery, and you say, oh, I'd never tried hummus before. Oh, what's this nutritional yeast? Oh. And for me, it opened the door to multicultural foods, really. It was like, I'd never tried some of these things like falafel and hummus and like Japanesey, Chinese and kind of meals like noodles and tofu and all these kind of things. Never heard of them, a lot of it, and it was through the vegan thing that I would suddenly find this new world of I'm trying new ingredients, and then it was through the passion of wanting to share the veganism I opened up to a whole new world of people of the like-minded kind of way of people who are sharing the veganism and have gone vegan and hearing their journeys and sharing my journey and meeting people, and I did so many things that I wouldn't have necessarily had the confidence or wouldn't have necessarily had the drive to actually do. But because it was passion, it was this passion and this feeling of purpose, and because I loved it so much, I was able to make videos, I did speeches, I did things that I don't know how I was able to do. I mean, looking back again, because I started the YouTube channel when I was, I think, 17, 18, several years ago, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a clue, and I suddenly was just the voice of veganism, and I was like, well, here we go, I'm going for it. And it was helpful to people, and I knew that, so I was like, well, I'm going to just go for it. And it doesn't, the fear, you just shoot through it, because when you feel that importance. So that's the thing that I love about it. It's going, I can all of a sudden do things. I can be limitless, thanks to this burning desire I have to share a loving message. So yeah, I think it would benefit the world to be more positive, not in a positive sense of running away from the truth in fear. It's not the necessarily happy, everything's okay, but actually it's not. It's everything's okay. And joy and love is the answer, and here we are, and the nervousness, you melt away the nervousness by just being authentic. And sometimes it's just going, actually, I am a bit scared, and this world is a bit overwhelming, and there's some very horrible things that have happened and that are happening, and I really want it to end. And that is just being honest with yourself. And then it's going, well, then it's, if I want to create a new world, and if I want to start again from scratch, and if I imagine that I am the creator, I'm the painter, and the canvas is now blank, and I go, well, what paints am I going to use? So I think, well, you're the writer, and you're the one with the pen, and you're saying, well, I wrote the first half of this story and it's not been so good, and now I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to write the second half, and I'm going to write it better this time. I'm going to do a slightly better job. I'm going to cut out the animal abuse thing and take away that bit, and this one's going to have like sanctuaries everywhere, and you're just drawing and designing the world, and you make it a game. And as much as it sounds like the idea of playing God, as if it's you don't have the right to create the world, but actually we are, we are creating our world in our own way, and the only ones who won't admit it are the ones who aren't ready to take responsibility for the mistakes and stuff. But when you face the mistakes and go, I created some bad when you're doing a painting, you go, actually, that little bit in the painting I could do with rubbing that bit out with a pencil marker, just sort of rub it out, and you go, mistakes can just be rubbed out. We don't need to dwell on things. So it's nice to go, here we are, this is what's happening, look at what is, and accept it for what it is, and take responsibility for saying, actually, my choices have led to these sorts of things. A lot of people are responsible for a lot of things, and even if it's the case of, where in my life am I not loving, in the simple core sense, it's like, you might not necessarily have been making paying for the animal industries and things, but where in my life have I been not so loving, not so kind? Where in my life am I doing the kinds of things that people are doing to the animals, being careless and mindless, and prioritizing taste over joy and peace and happiness and comfort and these kinds of basic core needs. The animals don't need that much, but they would appreciate those kinds of basic rights. They do deserve that love, and it's going, actually, on some level, have I not been so loving to myself or to my fellow brothers and sisters on the earth? And if you search truly, you find that there are things, and you go, actually, on some level, I'm the co-creator of this crazy, horrible experience. And you go, well, now I'm going to take responsibility, and I'm going to write a new story, and I'm going to go for it now. I'm going to infuse these beautiful, joyful emotions, which adds more power to the effect, of what you're creating. And you say, I'm going to infuse joy and say, this is what I want. And you're going to feel it. I have this thing here I wrote. It's like a little quote from my studies. So it goes, to create fully, align yourself with that which you do want. Do so from a centered place of awareness. Envision it in all its magnificence. You are always creating, so why not create consciously and in alignment with love? There you go. So that's where I'm at. That's what this is all about. So it's going, well, what is this beautiful vegan world that you do want? Because it's not necessarily enough to say, I don't want this world, because it's like, you need to have kind of an alternative blueprint and say, well, let's build that blueprint in doing it. And that's the thing that a lot of these vegan businesses and vegan events and, the camping things and all these different new projects and ideas that are coming out, they're offering the solutions, and they're saying, here's the better way. And in the sort of vegan farmers and gardeners and creative people and artists, and it's saying, here's the new vegan world, and we're making it, and just watch us, because in a world where there's lots of injustice, you won't get better treatment, and the animals won't get better treatment until we demand it. Both for for yourself and for the animals, there won't be better treatment until it's demanded, and it is created consciously, minute by minute. And that's the power that we all need to take back, to say, actually, we're not going to give anyone else that power. We're going to take it back and say, nope, I don't comply to these things, like whatever it is, whether it's the enslavement of humanity or the enslavement of the animals and plants and all of it. Let's align with freedom and joy and sovereignty as much as we can. One of the other laws of creation is this law of love, where you realize that the gifts you give to your brothers and sisters are really just the gifts to you. So when you can see yourself in everyone, just as I experienced when I went to outside one of the slaughterhouses, I saw a pig who was going there, and I looked into the eyes, and obviously through the eyes of the animals there's this sort of window into their soul, into their feeling sort of body, and I saw myself, and I saw that the gift of love and compassion that I was giving to the animals was really, I was seeing myself in that form. And if it was, say, if I was born into the body of an animal, I would want someone to do something. I would want someone to share, to beam out their love and compassion, and to at least be seen, and to have that feeling of validation of we know this is terrible, and we want to change it, and we will change it. And as much as it seems like it's not enough, we want to make more actions and make bigger changes and make permanent changes and change the world, so that these things never happen again. The intention of love and of rescuing and of trying to educate people and making big creative projects that makes big waves around the world, these things, I think they are collectively reaching the animals on some level, whether it's like a telepathic kind of level, where they can feel that, just like how when you hug someone, and you can feel that love that beams out of them, Sometimes when people are in a particularly open state, there's this feeling of, there's that feeling of being nurtured, of being heard and being seen, if you're particularly upset or if you're sort of more vulnerable. And it's in those moments where language becomes quite irrelevant and this feeling body takes over and you feel something deeper. And I think that every action we do that's loving towards the animals is really just a gift to that part of ourselves that's in a different form. And just like how with all nature, the love we give to Mother Earth is the love that we're giving to the home we're on. So the more kindness we can share towards the earth, the more beautiful the world we're going to be in. And the more kindness that we share with the other beings, the humans that we're with, the more we build a world that's magnetized towards more of a sort of heavenly experience. So yeah. One of the obstacles when you talk about manifestation and conscious creation and taking responsibility for making the world that you want to see is the idea of your people's minds have been hacked, and there's a lot of contamination and programming that's in our minds. And one of the things that I've been going through over the last few years really is studying a lot of so mind training, sort of mind clarification, sort of healing, inner healing kind of shadow worky kind of books and programs and things, and getting to that point where I actually sit down and day after day over a long period, it's stepping and opening up the little pockets of the subconscious mind. And it's like when you've got a house and there's like behind the fridge or behind the cupboard where no one ever goes, and it's going, oh, there's a lot of spiders and webs and insects and crawly things and kind of mouldy looking sandwiches or something, and you go, whoa, okay. And most people, when you get a glimpse of that, you go, whoa, I'll do that later maybe. And the subconscious mind, I think, has become a bit like that for a lot of people. I think most of people's creation is coming from that place. So wouldn't you like to find out how to re-educate that particular part of yourself and clarify it so that you can then plant the new seeds? So it's like doing the weeding and planting the new seeds. So you've got a fresh, fertile bit of land that's all ploughed and ready to go. And you can plant the new seeds, which is the new world you want to create. Because whether or not you've realised or not, all the advertising and all the films and the movies, all these like the food plate, the food wheel or whatever on that people are taught in school, the school education board and all of these things, it's all really just been a big giant sort of mind training program to get people into believing in fear and hate and anger and very bad nutrition. Obviously people's subconscious are, it's the guilt cycle of, I want junk food and I shouldn't, and then I'm going to have a bit and then I'm going to stop having it, and now I feel not so good, so I'm going to eat chocolate, and these kind of things are just the subconscious mind's programming playing out, and the willpower tries to exert through it through, say, dietary changes. But eventually the subconscious mind kind of just pushes its way through because it's stronger and it's been educated year after year and year after year. And I think it takes 12 or so years to fully brainwash and mind train a being. And that's how long the school period is. The school training period is 12 years. So it's anyone who's gone through that school journey, or universities go on beyond that, or even in the workplace, it's the same kind of thing. You're being educated into a thought system that's particularly not healthy. It's quite a toxic thought system that then is going to be subconsciously creating your world for you. And that's generally why people, their conscious mind, which is like another level of it, is like, I want this and I want that, and I would like to have a healthy body and I would like to have a compassionate world. But the subconscious mind isn't in like an alignment, or it's not congruent with it. So you're kind of on one level thinking one thing, but the other part of you that's sort of stronger and has more of a pull is like, but this is what we really want. And what you really want on the subconscious level isn't actually what you really want. But you have a stronger pull towards it and you have a stronger familiarity with it. So all these kind of patterns of I'm not good enough kind of things, and being angry and jealousy and violent things. I think it's a lot of these programming things, downloads of programming. A lot of it's come from films. People think all the stuff that they watch is harmless, as if it has no effect. But if you imagine that the subconscious is absorbing everything you see and everything you listen to, if you take inventory of all the things you've seen and you go, on some level, they're the seeds that are growing into the garden of my life, or my mind, which is my life. And if you start to really look at that, you're gonna realize that, say, like all the horror films and all those kind of trashy magazines and things you read when you were young, on some level, that's the reason why you don't love yourself, or that's the reason why you always feel tired, or that's the reason why you seem to always get anxious around certain kinds of people, or why you look in the mirror and don't feel like you're good enough. You go, I did spend a lot of time looking at those magazines, or looking at those looking at those horror films and things, because when you watch a lot of negative stuff, even the indoctrination that says all your problems will go away if you just find the right partner, the special relationship that will rescue for your man of your dreams, or the woman of your dreams who will rescue you from all of your sorrows, and you'll be lonely. You're lonely and sad, and if this person comes to rescue you, you'll never be lonely again, and everything will be fine. And I'm sure there's some people who have bought into that and experienced it. And relationships work out how they work out. If you're willing to evolve through them, it's good. But all the things that we've been promised through the culture that seemingly will bring us joy, whether it's the sort of fame and fortune and physical beauty in different ways, power on different levels, and social status, getting certain symbols of success, clothing, and having a house and owning a house, having a car, and being popular amongst people that you for some reason want to impress, chase away, because it will disappoint you and then you'll give up on it. And that's why it's quite fun to do that. But it's really it's clarifying the programming. And as you go, okay, all of this is in my mind, so how can I get it out? And then that's why I would recommend it's just looking into mind retraining programs in different ways. And there's lots of books about this kind of thing, and looking into the subconscious. And I can recommend some things or leave some links, but as you start to look into that place, just through having that intention to say, I'm going to actually start paying attention. What is going on? Like, why do I suddenly get angry about things? And it's kind of delving into that, so that you go, and how can I do some mental weeding, so that I can plant a new garden that's fresh and ready to go. So the next thing is, once you have that kind of thing, it's saying, well, what do I want in my garden? And like really holding the vision for what would be your ideal forest or jungle or garden. And that vegan heaven that we all want, this is my plea. This is my I'm begging the vegan world and the world in general to please continually picture every day over and over again and envision the world you actually do want, rather than saying this is bad and this is what's wrong. It's to look at what brings you joy and what your vegan perfect heaven world would look like, and to sit down and ask yourself, what is it, and really invest in making that a big part of your life. Because there's vision boards, and you can make little slideshows and things in your life, and there's lots of things you can do that will bring that vision more sort of into a physical sense, where you can start to go, well, if I want to see a world where there's free animals running around everywhere, how can I find some way of bringing that into my life? And if you've got this perfect vision, you suddenly go, I'm resonating with animal sanctuaries, really. That's what I always come to. I go, animal sanctuaries, or just kind of nature, I mean, being in a forest is a sanctuary, isn't it? Like a proper free forest, it's a sanctuary full of all kinds of insects and wildlife. And as you envision what you do want, you say, actually, maybe I should just volunteer at an animal sanctuary. And the next thing you know, these little steps and these possibilities come up, and you start searching for things that you can do, and then it comes into the practical thing. But it's important to hold that vision and keep aligning with it, because more and more opportunities will come, and you'll be able to take them, and you'll be right ready for it. When you see that actually your world isn't your perfect world that you envision isn't that far away from being able to come into a form in a way that you can enjoy. So to do this is really to bring that vegan future into your life more, and at the same time to bring it into the world even more deeply. So it's very exciting. So I really want everyone to just practice this as much as possible. One of the things that the advertising people do, it's this idea of every kind of 15 minutes on a television show, people are in a very relaxed state, which makes them particularly receptive and open to receiving suggestive information or programming, auto-suggestion, whatever you want to call it. And so that's, people get, they're open, they're emotionally ready to receive, they're spongy. And when you get people spongy, then every 15 minutes you just drop down a bunch of information and programming and images and emotions and music and stuff, and then every 15 minutes, the next thing comes, you do that over a few years, everything they've taken in, it's just, their whole garden's full of weeds, and they have no idea why their life looks so horrible. Yeah, so you can combat that by stop watching these these television shows with adverts, or on these social medias. Just stop looking at those adverts. Find a way to reduce your exposure to it. See it as like your mind and your eyes are like the gates to the temple. And that sacred temple, you want to keep it holy. You want to keep it safe, and you want to keep it you want to keep it vegan. So don't contaminate your fridge with meat. Don't allow negative, toxic, unloving, and sort of anti-vegan content into your mind, because if you're filling your mind with the images of animals playing and healthy food and people playing music and just joy in general, you're going to be more likely to resonate with that and to create experiences in your life that are aligned with that. So instead of these programming things, it's reducing that exposure, keeping yourself a temple, keeping your mind very clear, and clarifying at the same time. Take a hike, fear, we don't want you here. It's saying, well, if every 15 minutes the adverts can brainwash me, couldn't I just brainwash myself every 15 minutes for a year or two and then see what happens? You're just planting seeds in the garden of your heart / mind body complex, and that's what I was doing when I was reading some books. And that practice of every 15 minutes, like if you got a book and today here's our magic word sort of thing, or here's the sentence or whatever, you go through that process, and then you suddenly find that all of a sudden you have this compassionate, lovely, happy, positive outlook on everything, and you go, damn, this does work. So that's the reason why I'm sharing this, is because I didn't really believe in any of this stuff that much. I kind of dismissed a lot of this kind of thing, but then I had a period where life got difficult and I needed help, and I looked in the form of some of these sort of more spiritual self-help kind of books, self-loving kind of books, and through some of these practices that I integrated, it was after a year of doing this. It's not necessarily an overnight change, but after a year of doing it and programming yourself and limiting the exposure to the programming from people who don't have your best interests and don't have the best interests of the animals and the environment and everything, to then just transform and say, I'm going to brainwash myself. I'm going to advertise to myself. I'm going to stick a poster on my wall that says, go you, Michael, you're amazing, and the world's already vegan and everything's great, and keep going, and animal sanctuaries are popping up all over the place, and everything's healthy now, and the world's organic, and pesticides have gone, and I go, yeah, that's what I want, boom. And I go, yeah, rather than here's why you're not enough, and here's all the products that will help you feel like you're slightly enough. And then they'll run out and you can keep buying more and more and more. That's generally, that's the general advertising platform. There's the marketing strategy. It's like, yeah, remember how you're not good enough and how nobody likes you and how you're full of problems and you're sick and everything's wrong with you? Well, I've got a product for that. And it's only $79, and you have to keep buying it every week, and our subscription will never run out, and it gets more expensive the more insecure you feel, and whatever, it just keeps going. Speaking of which, vegan stickers are available. Which is a slightly different thing. But yeah, I recommend us to literally just go, if I was going to advertise to myself, what would I like to fill my mind with? And you just go, well, I want mangoes in my mind, so I'm going to put some giant mango seeds in the soil. Mango seeds everywhere, pineapples everywhere. So yeah, it's doing that, and then it's just this is, I think I talked about in the last episode, this idea of Kaizen. It's something where, surprisingly, it's a Japanese concept, and it comes from this idea of the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, from I think Lao Tzu, a very long time ago. This kind of concept, but I think from what I understand, no one really uses it in this particular sense in Asia. In Japan, I mean, they use the word Kaizen just to kind of mean to improve, kind of in that sort of general sense, but it's not really, I'm kind of explaining a slightly different idea, which is more something that the Western people have developed as a self-help / business strategy thingy, and there's lots of books about this, but it's the idea of saying, rather than these big innovation things where we go, well, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and change the world, I'm going to make a video and it's going to go viral and it's going to be amazing. You go, hang on, what's the simplest, smallest thing that I can do now that's fun and easy and, doesn't stress me out and make me feel scared? What's something that's sustainable? And when you figure that thing out, it might literally just be as simple as saying, I want a vegan world, but how on earth do I do that? And you go, I know what I'll do. I'll make an effort to have a vegan conversation once a week with someone that I'm close to. Once a week, you can do that, and you'll find an opportunity, and you're just looking for the opportunity. Suddenly some random person, you chat with them and they go, oh, what are you up to lately? And you go, you know what, I'm doing this challenge where once a week I have to talk about veganism with someone, and I think it's your turn. Let's go. Do you know what veganism is? I mean, I actually would do this, so there's a good suggestion for everyone. But then you just set some kind of fun challenge where it's like something that's almost completely pointless, like, oh, I want to have a tidy house, and you go, well, things aren't doing so well, but I'm going to spend 30 seconds every day and picking up no more than one thing and tidying no more than one thing, and it's only going to last 30 seconds. I'm going to keep doing that, and it seemingly won't do anything for your overall thing, but then after, let's say, a few weeks, you have this habit of picking up that one thing and tidying one thing. Or, you know, it's like you want to do a massage or something. You want to massage your hands or face or head or something, and you go, I'm just going to massage my finger for 30 seconds. And you just go, just this finger, just one finger. And then after a month of just this massaging this one finger, you have an extremely healthy finger, and you have a habit of massaging, you know, in every day, you know, whether it's once or twice a day, just that one finger. But then you're going to want to do more. There's going to be those days where you go, come on, I might as well do 2 fingers. And then you do 2 fingers. And then the next thing you know, it's like every day I just do massage time. And then by the time you've got massage time in your life, your whole hand's getting the massage and your back's doing its thing, and you're suddenly massaging your feet. And before you know it, you have to stop yourself because you could spend hours doing that thing. So if you want to do some kind of positive vegan thing, it might be to do with kind of sharing food with people, or making food for yourself that's more healthy, doing more self-loving things. It's like, what's the smallest self-loving thing I can do? And the thing about like creating a beautiful world is just asking the right questions. And if you just say, what's the smallest action I can do to bring about a vegan world? You ask that question and the world goes, oh, here's some ideas. Or your mind goes, here's some ideas. And you can ask people physically. You can go, hey, hey, Uncle Joe, what do you think I can do to like make a vegan world? Just something simple and easy. And you'd be surprised at just asking these questions to random people who have no interest in your thing. They'll just say something that's like mind-blowingly simple but helpful. They'll be like, oh, why don't you just like, I don't know, why don't you just get like just make a poster and just like stick it somewhere? And you're like, oh yeah, that could be a good idea. And then the next thing you know, you do that thing just for the fun of it. And then as you're doing it, you like bump into someone and they go, oh hey, I love your poster design. I'm actually a billboard designer and I want to get this billboard. I love your design so much. And next thing you know, there's billboards with your little poster on it, and you, all thanks to Uncle Joe and just asking the right question and just having a little go at the, you know, any random idea that can come up, rather than this big idea of I'm going to do this one thing that's going to change the world and it's going to cost me loads of money and it's going to take loads of time. You just go, I'll just do loads and loads of silly, pointless stuff, and one of them's going to just take off. It's a bit like YouTube videos. I mean, all these videos are just random, but some of the ones I've had, I get these emails that go, hey, I watched that video and it's just like, oh, now I'm vegan. It's changed my life. And I go, oh, really? That video? Like, really? That didn't take me that long. Some of the other ones took ages, and that one, I mean, the editing's awful, and I get into this sort of critical mode, but then you go, but the words or the information or the emotion or the music, something did it. And it's not just one person. Some of these videos, it's like, sometimes like 10, like hundreds of people sometimes, with just like comments and things going, whoa, I didn't realize, or, you know, I've shared this with my family and they're all vegan now, sort of thing. And I've had loads of these emails and I go, yeah, who'd have thought it? Just that video. I mean, I've got to make more videos. So as thinking that makes me go, well, here we are. There's who knows, all the little actions, they just sort of accumulate. And it's really just tipping people off to the point where if you're doing vegan activism, you might be the last step where someone goes, yeah, you know, this is the day I'm going for it. But you might just be somewhere in the middle of their journey, or at the beginning of the journey, where they go, vegan, what's that? And then the next step happens to be, oh, then what do I do? And I have to watch a documentary, and they go through this big giant adventure until they get to the next thing that goes, oh yeah, this is it, I'm doing it, you know, forever. And people like to accumulate a bit of information and a bit of an experience, and watching people, it's like, I've looked at videos of 50 vegans over the last month, and I've come to the conclusion that they're crazy, but I like it. And they all look quite healthy, and their food looks really delicious. And there's a vegan restaurant down the road that I've just recently found out exists, and my wife seems like she'll help, so this is going to work. And then, you know, people just figure it out, and you might just be somewhere in the middle of all that. So very beautiful, all these little actions. Don't downplay the little actions. It's really just about bringing that preciousness to all the little things that we do. And that's the idea of the Kaizen thing. small steps, little habits. Have a habit of bringing more love into the world every day. So what else am I talking about? I wanted to talk a bit about balance. Because I think it's very easy to specialize on particular things, and one of the mistakes I think I've made was thinking that life is about one thing at a time, and as long as you've got that thing, obviously you do it best. But I realised that when I end up really getting into one thing, all the rest of my life falls apart. And I neglect real fundamental things, just because I've always had this particularly focused, one-pointed ability, this one-pointed laser focus ability to just hone in on something and just go for it, which I did when I was in my little vegan obsessed phase. When I went vegan, I was like, but then I suddenly go, hang on a minute, I need to learn how to ride a bicycle or something. I haven't learned that yet. Well, I had learned that, but those kinds of things. Yeah, one of the things I found is it's this sort of integrated, full kind of healthy, self-loving, happy thing, this state where you're not sacrificing yourself and suffering for your activism. Your activism is a joy. Your vegan life is an adventure, and everything's just aligned. And it's like being healthy is very helpful. You don't have to be healthy. And I mean, there's people who think, veganism isn't a diet. But if veganism is aligning with love, and particularly directing it towards the animals, you're recognizing that humans are animals too. And why not look after the vehicle, this vessel that we have, as much as you can, which will allow, it's like when you've got a car that's good, it's well serviced or something, or a bicycle that works well, it's got nice tyres, you're able to go around and do more things theoretically without it breaking down, or when you suddenly have a few weeks of your things broken down, you you can't do all those passionate things and chasing your dreams that you normally like to do. So it's good to keep the vehicle well maintained. So yeah, and then the other thing is maybe the final big thing that's important is it's saying like there's lots of things that we seem to want. It's like we think that this heavenly vegan world will bring us a certain thing, but really there's a certain feeling of liberation or freedom that we're looking for, and we can actually have that now. We can bring it into our own experience now. So it's like if people think that they want to let's say lose weight and be more healthy, people see the image of the healthy thing and the idea, and they think that they'll feel more confident or more healthy or more attractive or more lovable, etc., etc. But if they're practicing sacrifice and restriction and unhealthy things, I'm not good enough feelings, or anger at themselves, or you're not good enough, and keep going and harder and battle yourself. If you're battling with yourself constantly, you might achieve, and very much it's almost guaranteed you can achieve these goals. But if you haven't cultivated the state at the same time that you actually want to feel, you think that these people are happy, and if you think that, say, being more thin or having particular appearance or having more money, for example, if I have more money I'll feel more safe, or I'll feel more happy, I'll feel more free. It's like going, actually, the money won't necessarily make me free, because there's people who have money who aren't free. They're trapped by the work obligations and different things, and there's people who have very attractive bodies but they're not happy, and then lots of other problems show up in their life, and they have lots of other issues that coincidentally, it hasn't solved all of their challenges. They're just one aspect of their life they've mastered in a way, but they've got other issues, so it's like finding that balance where you say, I'm going to use this particular thing, whether it's vegan activism or whether it's self-love or health, exercise, dietary patterns and things, and or gardening or walking or whatever, some habit and something. If you're going to say, well, I'm going to use this going to the gym thing, or if I'm going to use this vegan activism thing that I want to do as my opportunity to practice feeling and aligning and integrating this state that I want to feel. So you go every moment that you spend, say, exercising, it's not about, oh, I'm not good enough and I need to change, because you'll always feel like that if you keep practicing it. But you, alongside with your every time you'll say you're doing your squats, you squat and you go, damn, I'm hot, or whatever the thing you want to feel, you go, wow, whoa, I feel so healthy, I feel so strong, and every time you're mantraing, you're saying your affirmations to yourself of like, yeah, I'm strong and I'm healthy and I'm confident, yeah, and whatever the thing is. And, more or less quite quickly, you're going to suddenly just feel more confident and happy and healthy, and it didn't require really any effort. You might have just been doing very light exercise or whatever the thing is. So if you can get to a point where you're, the feeling you think the thing will give you, you just get it through the simplest, easiest action. You can actually have everything very quickly without any effort. And then by the time you do achieve it, it will be like, oh, randomly the goal's been achieved, and you won't care really, because it was you already got the joy. And then by the time you get it, like by the time we get this vegan world and sanctuaries and animal liberation and things, by the time that does come about, people will be ready to actually really enjoy it, because they'll have been practicing feeling free and feeling love and feeling compassion, rather than that everything's vegan now but I'm still angry for some reason, So good opportunity to look at what you're focusing on when you do all of the positive things, working towards a goal. Just make sure that every part of that working towards the goal is sort of self-loving and balanced and healthy, and you're not just mixing in sort of anger and resentment stuff. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots more videos and lots more fun things to share. Hopefully something in this is helpful and resonates. I might share some links, maybe I won't, but yeah, hopefully there's something in this that, this might be one of those things where you listen back to it and you go, actually some of this is helpful, because some of the stuff I've said I felt like, I'd like to listen to this. Really it's just a kind of collection of things that I've just been sort of reading and finding out about and practicing. Really the main thing is there's loads of theoretical stuff, but it's like the more you practice, the more you go, when I actually do these sorts of things, I feel better, my life feels better, the world feels better, and it's good. So yeah, thank you everyone, have a beautiful day. I'll see you again in another one. Bye bye.